Do not adjust your set, my friend. What you saw last night, you still can't believe. What you saw last night, you're still trying to process. What you saw last night was something for the history books. You saw something that you're not supposed to see. This was never supposed. This was something that is at a level of, I'm trying to figure out a level of, I don't want to use the word amazement because I think people use that word too much, but it was amazing. It was terrifying. You couldn't believe what you were seeing. How did this happen? How was this allowed to occur? How do people running the political arm of, in essence, a kind of a, not a bicameral, but a dual partied left and right, the left right paradigm, which we've always thought was an illusion. Those of you great citizens of the world. But how could this have been allowed to occur? How can so many great minds have not realized this? And what you're not being allowed to do is you're not being allowed to process this, because if you miss the processing of it, if you miss the dissection of it, you miss what's happening. You know, when you go to a planetarium and you look up at the stars and you have somebody playing Pink Floyd and the next tour comes in, you're missing the point. When you see the birth of a child, you miss the point because people are happy, they're elated, but nobody sits back and says, do you know what we've just witnessed? Because normally it's the elation of this. And sometimes, even in the case of death, we don't stop and say, do you realize what has just occurred here, what just ended, and the reactions of this? We saw the Democratic Party, who was absolutely brilliant in its vicious attack and this incredible, ruthless attack on Donald Trump. They never missed a thing. Never. They came at him from the moment he descended that escalator in Trump Tower. From that moment, they came at him with everything they had, and they never let up. They were, I'm sorry to say, brilliant in their savagery. Everything he did, they almost anticipated it. They set him up from January 6th until I just go down the list. From 2017, I don't want to say, I sound like one of these people who says, well, you know, as I said, as I called it, but I wasn't the only one. I don't remember who else said this. But in 2017, the first time I heard Joe Biden talk about corn pop, the moment I saw him stand at that pool with those African American kids who were looking at him like, what is this man doing? Who is this man? When he was talking about corn pop and blonde hairs on his leg and how he always wanted to fight people, he was always talking about how brave he was, how tough he was, how mean he was, how formidable he was, what a man he is. From that moment, I was saying, this man's out of his mind. I remember in 2020, I was on a show, I'm not going to mention it, and I told the host, have you not listened to him? I was telling him in 2020, I said, he's out of his tree. This is psychiatric. I didn't know then what I was witnessing, but it was the precursor. It was the unfolding of the collapse of him. Maybe it portended, maybe it augured this decline. But I remember this. And I was called a Trump, nut and a conspiracy, this and that. And you always the conspiracy. When you don't know what to say, it's a conspiracy theory. When you have absolutely nothing to say anymore. And all of our conspiracies have been right. Every single one of them. Ladies and gentlemen, I am so glad you were joining us this morning. I am truly, honestly honored that you are joining us, because you're still trying to figure out what is happening. How is this even happening? How? How did they allow this? There's a part of me, a humanistic part of me, that almost feels bad. Almost feels sorry for him. Almost feels like we're watching a cruel legacy, the destruction of a human being. There was a part of me that shows pity, that shows empathy, that feels this piteous sense of just horror, where I wanted to say, this can't be happening. From the moment he shuffled out last night, after a week of preparation, after CNN did everything to load the deck, to put a thumb on the scale, to prepare, to grease the skids, to make it, to remove all of the usual advantages that one would have in a case like this. After they did everything, getting rid of the audience, cutting the mics, giving him the question, is there anyone here? Like Donna Brazile gave Hillary the questions in 2016. Is there anyone who thinks for a moment that CNN played fair and square? Is there anyone silly enough, naive enough to think that Joe Biden wasn't given every conceivable advantage, and that his team was given every idea, every notion, every hint as to what the questions were? Is there anyone? Do the naive still exist? Do you not understand the level of corruption, of fetid, putrescent, feculent, rotten, the corruption of this system? I love this country, but I hate this government. And I despise the Democrats. They're not Democrats. I don't know who they are. They're a virus. They're a cancer that came in and saw this organism called the DNC, and they moved in and they took over like an mRNA jab. They rewired the genetics, rewired the circuitry. It looks like the Democratic Party. It seems like the Democratic Party, but it's not. I want to share your horror. Soul76 said, is this why the debate was held so early? Because they knew this would happen? My bet is yes, due to the coordinated talking points from the MSM, a branch of the DNC. Well, my friend, first of all, thank you for your kindness, but let me say another thing that I have been saying to you. And if you are brand new to me, if you are brand new, I welcome you, and I want you to say, please make sure you subscribe to Lionel Nation. We do this all the time. And I'm telling you right now, and in case many of us have just met, I am not a Republican and I am not a Democrat. I am a political atheist. I hate the party system. I hate it. I use hate a lot because I despise. For you to think that you can say what I am in the terms of a party? No. Just when you think you figured me out, I'm going to change it. I'm going to change it. If you've listened to me, I had since 2022, for example, over 2 years ago, about 2 years ago, I was saying it's going to be Gavin Newsom. 2 years into it, they thought I was crazy. They thought I was nuts. Do you think I get this just because I sit back in my Barca lounger, in my beanbag chair, and I look up and say, now let's see. Do you know the dark web intel that's available? Do you know the other stuff, the other side, not only to politics, but Hollywood and the shadow government? Do you know all that's out there? Do you know where to go? Do you know how bad? Do you really, really want to know the truth? The stuff they don't talk about, stuff that you can kind of anticipate. Do you know the real story behind the death of Joe's first wife? Do you understand the role of Jill and how that played in that? Do you have any idea of what's on that laptop? Do you know what it means? Howie Brown does. Someone should call Adult Protective Services for a Biden welfare check. Let me say something to you, Howie. You don't know how I understand where there's a certain degree of sad comedic aspects of this. But let me explain something to you. I'm a licensed lawyer, have been for about 40 whatever years. And during the course of my initial mass unit prosecution era, I dealt with one of the worst parts of the criminal law system, and that's family law, juvenile family law, protective services, dependencies, where a person is dependent upon the state for care and protection, abuse, neglect, abandonment of the elderly, of the infirm, of the mentally ill, children, you name it. And I've seen stuff that absolutely blew my mind. I cannot believe what I saw. And I have seen something that is so horrible and so terrible as to what happens to the elderly. Now, let me also say something to you. Keep in mind something. Joe, who was 81, Ronald Reagan was 77 when he left office, and they thought he was over the hill. Donald Trump is what, 78? This is not about age. Alan Dershowitz, who I think is out of his tree, is mentally with it. He's 85. Noam Chomsky, before his latest spell or his medical problem, which I don't want to speculate, I think we all know, was in his 90s. He's doing fine. It's not age. Mrs. Ellen and I had a friend of ours, a dear friend, a Catholic priest. He died at 103. And when I tell you he was sharp, I'm not just saying that. I don't mean for a 103-year-old. I mean for anyone. He was the one who told me, he said, this Biden, who could be his son, said, I don't know about him. I said, my God, a 103-year-old man telling me that he's concerned about the mental wherewithal? Jill Biden is a conniving harridan, a termagant of the first order. She's soulless. The Bidens have no soul. The love child they abandoned, turning their back on the ex-wife, which purportedly is one of the reasons why Michelle supposedly, or supposably, as people say, was not a part of any kind of campaigning. They have no soul. They have no convictions. They are liars. They have been liars since the beginning. This is a compromised man whom they made a deal. Let me explain something to you. I hope you got a few minutes for me. You know the two biggest industries in the world right now? Don't give me this Bitcoin business. No. You put your money in extortion, blackmail, and human trafficking. And blackmail is number one. What do you think the name of that feller was all about? The one who was offed in his cell, whose name we can't mention because of weird algorithmic sensitivities, a man who was whacked before your very eyes, who had all of the indicia of a homicide, from petechial hemorrhaging, thyroid cartilage, hyoid bones. I mean, come on. Livor mortis. Just go down the list. This. You don't have to be Quincy. They look at you. Listen to me. They look at you right in the eye and they say, nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. And then they get these barking seals, these sock puppets, these soulless, vapid, vacant, vacuous, these empty shells, these horrible curs, these oh God, these infectious, purulent pustules of humanity at CNN and that godforsaken, rancid MSDNC. And they give them marching orders. And they tell Joy Reid, listen, honey, I don't care how many mops you put on your head or whatever you do, we own you. Same thing for you, Joe and Meager. You're going to do exactly what we tell you. Do you understand this? Because this is it. This platform you're in, this TV thing, it's over. This is absolutely over. James Rockford from the Rockford Files, thanks for all the true info. Thank you, sir. Let me tell you something. I've been telling people for the longest time, you know who runs this show? You can call it whatever you want, the deep state. It's the shadow government. It's a group of people that I've called collectively that for I don't know how long, because it's the deep state, police state, intel state, shadow government, ruling class, whoever runs this, the globalist groups. And there's this Potemkin village. There's this pretend world, this Hollywood set called DC or the Senate, with a bunch of barking seals who do nothing. There's place setters. They're sock puppets. They're cutouts pretending to be doing something to keep your eyes off the prize. It's about distraction, prestidigitation, redirection. It's not about magic. It's like, no, look over here. And you got these clowns all the time, the Jim Jordans and the John Kennedy, who waste your time with this dog and pony show about look what we're doing. They're in on it. Two sides of the same coin. Is corrupt. And they hate Trump. They hate him because he knows what they're doing. Sparky says, as much as I'd like to see Hillary slide in there for entertainment, DNC will likely put Newsom in there, then contrast his and Trump's ages, asking, do you want to risk another old guy? I think you're spot on, but this has been going on for the longest time. But here is the thing. And I want you to hold this thought for 1 second because you're right about that. Breitbart, before they whacked him, said, don't give me this business about the heart attack, please. Remember what he was about to expose right before his untimely demise? Go back and look. But he said that politics is downstream from culture, from entertainment. That's what runs the show. What runs the American idea, the ego, so to speak, to use the Freudian troika, is what your perception is through social media. Social media changes everything. Social media changes everything. And there are people out there in these vestigial, hoary, Hoary, ancient, osseous, ossified, archaic, antediluvian, prehistoric sets like these platforms like CNN, MSDNC, and Fox News. Fox News, the biggest con job in the world. Remember what they say in the mob. Remember what they say about the LCN. When somebody's going to whack you, it's going to be your friend, somebody you've trusted. That's who the shadow government wants to get into, not CNN. They know you're not going to be paying attention to that. These impuissant, these atesticular, orchiectobied, spineless, gutless, ballless geldings out there won't say ever anything about the possibility of elections being fraught because they were so much a scaredy cat because of the Dominion lawsuit. And that goes for that other fakakta piece of nothing called Newsmax, which is like the USA Today of this. It's pathetic. If Newsmax was a newspaper, they'd slide it under your door at a La Quinta in the middle of nowhere. There is no this Republican voice stuff is ridiculous. Rush Limbaugh, bless his heart, is dead. I knew him. I worked with him. I thought he was great. There's no more Reaganomics. There's no more conservatism. It doesn't exist. It's a bunch of clowns. The names don't even work. You've got CPAC and a bunch of these folks walking around pretending to be sexy and attractive. They make me sick. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a new day. It's a new everything. And these things don't work anymore. Bannon made gas. Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. Pardon me. Bannon was behind Breitbart too. You hate him. Listen to me. I don't want to go through the specifics of this. You got to be very careful. People like people. People say, oh, but I like Bannon. Bannon's not the government. Let Bannon say whatever he wants. He serves an incredibly useful purpose because he gives people a different perspective, like Alex Jones that they've driven into the ground. Now, let me tell you something right now. If you think Alex Jones is over, you're not paying attention. You know who's going to resurrect him? Elon. Oh, yeah. He's going to be bigger and badder and better than ever. And if you don't know that, you're not paying attention here, kids. They don't understand. See, they've never understood us. They don't know who we're about. They think we're a bunch of freaks. They just don't get it. And you know who hates us more than anybody else? The Fox News crowd, because they think they're better than you. And they think they're smarter than you. They really do. Honest to God, they think they're better than you. Let me tell you something. Go back and read the emails up to and including from your boyfriend, Tucker, and others, and how they slammed Trump. Remember that? Remember that too? Hannity. This is the guy who's the smartest guy in the world and the luckiest. Anybody who follows Rush Limbaugh and Bill O'Reilly, I could have put on the Missouri dial tone and you would have been number one. If you think this is depth, you're not paying attention. They can't stand Trump. They hate him because he broke every single rule. And let me also tell you something. I am not in any way religious or spiritual or any of that stuff. I'm evidence-based. Well, let me tell you something. If you told me right now, so you don't believe there's a merciful God, do you? How do you think this happened? How do you think these smart people didn't yank this coot, this wizened curmudgeon, this dotard man hobbled by decrepitude? This pathetic, shuffling, plastic, zero affect. He has every indication of severe, not only mental illness, I think his personality, because if you believe Tara Reid, and I do, this guy's a predator too. He's the biggest con in the world. Do you know how they let him do that? And then what it was last night for me to see people, and let me tell you something right now. You listen to me. Listen to me. If we're in the battlefield and we're trying to find out what the enemy's doing, do we listen to our folks or do we listen to the enemy? Enigma, and during the code breakers, they listen to the Japanese, listen to the Germans, because they're the enemy. We are the only country in the world that tunes in to Fox News and these children, somebody who thinks Jesse Waters is the brain trust, who tells you what you want to hear. That's not where I learn my information. I go to the enemy. You listen to what they say. Listen to their exasperation. They're telling you what they're going to do. Raul Rodriguez says last night Trump was an officer and a gentleman. You know, you are correct. Trump could. There was a moment, Raul. I remember this, and maybe you do too, where I think Trump looked out over and he looked concerned. Let me tell you something about Trump. You know what Trump's biggest problem is? He's not ruthless. He should have crushed Hillary into dust. The back of his boot heel, or whatever that means. The back of a heel? On the neck. The boot heel on her neck should have ground her into dust. He doesn't, that's not his nature. Change now, however. You've got to destroy these people politically. And the reason is because they don't respect you. They don't respect you anymore. But how did they do this? Let me go back to what Trump is again. I want you to listen right now. And I'm glad I think Sparky said it best. I've been saying it's going to be Gavin Newsom, and they're going to pull him in at the last minute. And people say, well, how are they going to do this? Don't worry, they're going to do it. This is what LBJ did when he decided not to run. And let me tell you something right now. I want to dispel something, and I want you to listen, and I want you to listen real good. I don't want to hear one more fiction about, well, they can't take it away from Kamala because, well, she's a black woman, and if you sidestep her, they will, who are they? The Democrats. Democrats don't care anything about this. They have no idea what the hell's going on. No, but they can't do this. You better believe they'll do it. Because the big money, the donors, the elder statesmen, the elders, the ones who run the show, they're going to say, get rid of her. She's worse than him. He's at least a little likable when he's not walking around soiling his pants. By the way, if they don't short Adderall after this, because we knew about the witch's brew, Adderall and the B12 and all these kind of, witch's brew and go-go juice. Remember that? Who was it? Mama June. Remember what was that kid called? Honey Boo Boo, or whatever. They put that go-go juice they put that little Adderall, little speed in your Kool-Aid there. If that did, and at first, did you see how he was mumbling everything up? And then he was coughing. It was ridiculous. That's why he was there for a week, to teach him how to stand for 90 minutes. Let me say this again. I don't think you heard me. I don't think you understood what I said. He was there to learn how to stand for 90 minutes. Then he went to a Waffle House or whatever. What the hell is that about? Who is this demented Dr. Jill who says, let's get the man out of here? You let America's amnesia take place. America has the attention span of a gnat. Why in the name of God would you let this man take him out? How'd you do? Oh, he's a liar. Get him off the stage. It's over. Do you understand that? It's over. What do you think Putin's thinking now? What do you think Kim Jong-un's thinking now? You saw something that nobody's ever seen. And that dimwit, that wigged, what's with these wigs? I think from Maxine Waters to Karine Jean-Pierre to, who's another? To Oprah and Gail. I think it cuts off their circulation. I swear to God, I think there's something about wearing a wig that makes these people crazy. This Karine Jean-Pierre the other day said, because they told this dingbat, this benighted moon bat, they told her, we want you to go out and we want you to tell the world that Joe wasn't, first of all, soiling himself. It's some encopretic fugue. Look it up. At the G7, that was incredible. He was bent over, and it's like somebody doing, I don't know, trank or something. It looked like a scene from Kensington. What is he doing? He's frozen. And people say he was making a deposit, so to speak. I don't believe that was the case. But as he walked off, and Georgia Baloney had to bring him back, numbnuts, who says, I always reading her book, says, no, it's called a. Have you ever seen his affect? When she has no idea what to do, she does the head thing. It's called a cheap fake. It's a deep fake. What are you talking about? And then Brian Stelter, who looks like a pimple, Tater, the guy they tossed from CNN, they brought him back. He said, well, let me see if I can explain this to you. You see, it's not a deep fake, it's a cheap fake. You see, they actually showed the perspective of Joe Biden from various angles that didn't correctly or accurately depict the situation as it existed. Are you kidding me? They lie. They lie in your face. All the while, they want to take your place. Backstabbers. I think our frenzy OJ said it best. It's incredible. It's just incredible. Tim P says, wonder what KGP's excuse would be this time. Oh, it's a cold. He had a cold. Don't you remember this? They had a cold. Let me tell you what I would have said. And you're going to laugh at this. Do you know what the most incredibly effective way of getting out of problems is? Telling the truth. When you tell the truth, it is so disarming. And I know people say, well, what are you talking about? If somebody would say, what's the matter with him? What do you mean what's the matter with him? It's dementia. What's the matter with him? Didn't you see him last night? Yeah. It's dementia. What do you mean what's the matter with him? Next question. Did she just say dementia? Yeah. Full throttle. Full bore. Absolutely. Full bore. You got it. As we say in West Tampa, arrebatado. Or as we say here in downtown with the boys, shingad, gone, gooned, waxed, halowed, gone. He's gone. Next question. That's it. There's no follow-up. Are you saying, did you hear me? I said he was gone. Did he have a cold? Cold. He couldn't have a cold at all. With all the Benadryl, all the uppers he was taking, the reason why he was doing that cough was because we probably dosed him on the cough syrup and it was having a negative effect. Tell people the truth. It's like, what do you think he's in? He's out of his mind. What are you talking about? He's out of his mind. You have to ask me? What are you, crazy? Let me ask you something. A friend of mine asked the best question I've ever heard in my life, and I think it's the most important. Let me ask you this very, 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 very simple question. Would you let Joe Biden drive you home from the airport? Think about that. I'm not being funny. I'm not being cute. I'm not kidding. Would you let Joe Biden? I know we take Ubers now, but it was a time when we say, I'll pick you up at the airport. I'll pick you up at the airport. Would you let Joe Biden? And the best one I ever saw was this. I don't want you to listen to me. See, the internet changed everything. As I was saying before, it is done. Fox, CNN, meager Brzezinski, meager, that horrible, horrible floating piece of a jester in the punch bowl, and that dim-witted dork of a hubby of hers, the artificially created Joe Scarborough, horrible. They love it in D.C. They watch that show like it means something. They are just, I mean, that's what you have to stomach a little bit of to hear what the enemy's saying. But those platforms are over. Remember when Zaslav came into CNN? Remember what they're talking about? It's done. They've got their budgets. It's over with. AGI is going to destroy that to begin with. The future, not the future, strike me, not strike me, or strike me, strike that, I should say. The future is what you're seeing now. Last night, when this thing happened, I like how he said, no hiding Joe in the basement. It's all out now. But it's always been. See, that's the funny thing, Howard. And thank you. It's always been. They had this guy gooned out of his mind, waxed on some kind of, I don't know, some kind of anxiolytic, tranked out of his mind, handcuffed to the radiator, as we say in Hell's Kitchen, some root cellar in Wilmington. I mean, he's been gone for we don't know how long. But let me tell you, when this happened last night, where do you think people were going to? The people who make the most, the people who matter most right now, the number one source with information bases, the like, is Rogan. Tucker is tearing it up. Whether you like him or not, I don't really care. I'm not here to say whether I agree with people. Lex Friedman, and as far as Israel goes, that thing is gone. Do you think Netanyahu's coming now? Do you know what this does to everything now? Netanyahu's going to say, "Hey, I want more bombs and missiles or whatever from him." You've been taking this from him? What do you mean? From Joe? Because people act like they just woke up now. You mean he's been like this? Doesn't matter. They just woke up. It doesn't matter. People don't get stuff. Remember when Fredo Cuomo was doing fake weights on CNN? Nobody got that. Sometimes I'm thinking, how are you missing this? But I've learned, I don't know why. When Kamala Harris exhibited something called hebephrenia, which is actually a version of schizophrenia, but hebephrenia, pseudobulbar affect, and these cachinnations, and these weird hyena-like, this cackling, just this inappropriate, forced, fake laughter, this trollop, this courtesan, this Meretrix, Willie's friend, a woman catapulted out of nowhere, devoid of any degree of mentation. People all of a sudden realize, hey, she laughs a lot. Where have you been? Joe's been walking around for how long now? And now you notice this? I don't understand. There are people who've taken their parents to the doctor for less than what Joe has exhibited. This is ridiculous. And I keep telling you right now, Putin is thinking, are you watching this? He and Medvedev and Lavrov are in the Kremlin saying, are you watching this? Yeah. Is it? This isn't. They're going to claim it was a deep fake or AI. I got to tell you something right now, and I mean this sincerely. And I want you to listen right now. And I want you specifically to talk about and listen to me carefully with how to speak to people, to friends of yours. Oh, let me ask you this before I forget. Last night, were you not tweeting, what am I saying? Were you messaging and texting friends? Was your phone going crazy last night? I got texts from people I've never talked to, I don't know how long. People who have been in a kind of a political coma themselves for the first time are saying, are you watching this? Are you watching this? Did you get friends calling last night? Did you? It was Enjoy Read, that one. She kept saying, my phone was blowing up. Now, you do know that every single one of them, Joy, John King, Dana Bash, who is Johnny's ex, Jake Tapper, go down the list. Caitlin, whatever her name is, the one with the eyebrow, that mean looking one, just looks mean. All of them got the words. Nobody's going rogue. Remember, we're all going to say right now, and Van Jones, that lying, mendacious. And I like Joe Biden, and this hurts me. But it's time. Good, Van. I'm buying this. And then there was one lone holdout, kind of like the Japanese feller who didn't know World War II was over. He's in Okinawa, the guy who's just, out there waiting for, actually in the Philippines, waiting to be relieved of his duty. Remember that one? Remember this guy? Anyway, she was, I think, Joe's prior, I don't know, communication or something. And she says, well, I thought he really nailed it. And they looked at her like, did you not get the memo? He didn't even get the abortion thing right. This is the Democratic Party. All they care about are killing babies and abortion. Okay, that's their number one thing. Oh, they live and breathe abortion. Abortion is into them. It's climate change. It's Greta Thunberg. How dare you? I'm going to miss that old gal. What is she, about 40 now? How dare you? Remember where you were when you first heard this? Scowling. Who is this? I could be in school. We'll go back to school. Who the hell are you? How dare you? Quit telling me. How dare you? First tell me, who are you? What do you know about this? Remember these. We're going to miss a lot of these folks. Aren't you going to miss all the drag shows and all those people destroying your children's lives, showing up at public libraries and dancing as these I don't know what they were, these freaks, lunatics running around. Rachel Levine, where do you think she's going? Where were you the first time you saw Rachel Levine? Where were you? Remember they sprung Rachel Levine? Remember the first time you saw her? Hello, I'm Rachel Levine. Who the hell is this? What is this? Was this a joke? Who is this? Hey, there's somebody in drag here. Do you know this? Do they know about this? She's who? What? What is this? Remember when this happened? You said, what's going on here? And can you tell me what a woman is? I'm not able to tell you. You don't know what a woman is? Well, let me ask you something, honey. You're dressed like a what? What is that called? Yeah, that thing you're wearing, the dress. Why don't you dress like this man? Because he looks like a man, right? And you want to look like what is it again? A woman? Oh, so women do exist? But you can't tell the difference between men and the other. But you opt into this. And you came out as a what? What is that called again? A woo. Say it. A woo. Woman. Right. And it's weird. You say there's men and women, but yet you go from a man to a woman. There's no such thing as a non-binary. It doesn't make any sense. None of this. We were inundated with this. And Biden sat back and let us do this. Remember this freak show at the White House? The one woman who's flashing her whatever? You remember that? You remember that first week with that weird guy or girl or thing or whatever it was with the long fingernails? How about the feller with the beard this past week? Did you see Tyler Cherry? Oh. Do you think Joe Biden really likes that? Joe Biden this is the guy who, along with Hillary, said there is no such thing as defensive marriage. Marriage is between a man and a woman. What the hell are you people talking about? Remember that? They changed their tune quick. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, they go, no, I don't know what a man is. Wait a minute, what? We actually had Ketanji Brown, Jackson Brown, whatever. Ketanji, the late Ketanji Brown Jackson. During her confirmation hearing, they said, can you define a woman? This is where we've been. We've been held hostage for 4 years, and it's over. Now, a couple of random thoughts. I don't want you to gloat with your friends. I want you to ask your friends the following questions. I want you to ask them this. Number one, and this is my ad for President Trump. That's simple. Here's the ad. You ready? Let me tell you what it is. Do you want 4 more years of this? And you can use whatever scatological reference you want. Do you want 4 more years of this? You got that? Do you want form? It's a simple question. If you do, that's the guy. His name is Joe Biden. Wasn't he great last night? Oh, and by the way, I want you to say to all your friends, and they're not liberals. They're not liberals. They've never been liberals. They're not progressives. They're crazy. They're TDS afflicted anti-Trumpers. They have no political basis, no ideology, no nothing. They are devoid. They are absent. They are without any appreciable ability to differentiate reality from illusion. And I want you to say, boy, let me tell you something. I got to tell you, I'm sure glad I watched that. What? I wasn't sure whether I was going to vote for Trump because, let's face it, he's been through a lot of troubles. But last night, Biden's performance cinched it. Such clarity, limpidity, pellucidity. He was a beacon of not only hope and truth and goodness, but it gave me a sense of direction. The way he portrayed and gave us a worldview, Reagan-esque in my opinion, absolutely Reagan-esque. And I don't know what these people are talking about. Trump won by 67%. I don't know what debate they were watching, but I thought Biden cinched it. And you know what? I think it's because of his, and be serious. Be serious. Say it in a tone of voice to have them say, you're not being funny. What is what I'm saying incorrect? So are you saying what I'm saying is incorrect? So you agree? And did you just notice this? Now, remember, Trump, do you want 4 more years of this? That's it. That's it. Not MAGA, not mega, but no, simple. You want this? You want any more of this? This is like the word. This is just there. Do you want this? Do you like this? Do you like Biden? Do you like it? Every single thing about, name one accomplishment of his. One. He can't even get a dog that doesn't attack Secret Service. Everything about this man. And that vile, syphilitic, STD, meth-mouthed, this pustule hunter, this vile, putrescent, pus-filled, like a sebaceous cyst, like Dr. Zitpopper. Don't you love that show? Like one of these lipomas that they cut and they bust the cyst sac and it shoots this lymph and, she has to wear a gun. That's Hunter. That's Hunter. And the big guy. This is a criminal conspiracy and a racketeering enterprise. This guy actually went up and did something which was so incredible. He did little finger paintings, and sold them. Finger paintings so that the big buyers could do it. Years ago, as a friend of mine reminded me, and you kids probably don't know this, but there was a time when there was this thing called payola. And there were these disc jockeys named Alan Freed and others. They got into all kinds of problems because they would agree to play records on radio stations for drugs, sex, and rock and roll and all this other kind of jazz. And when the government came down on them and ruined them and said, you can't do that, they said, okay, you can't pay a disc jockey money. Listen to me. Kids are saying, what's a disc jockey? Ask your parents. So what they would do is this. A DJ would say, well, my wife just opened up an art store. Did you know that? Yeah, she paints and pottery, maybe commissions. Yeah. She has an art store. It's on 57th and right off of 5th. Yeah. Is it hers? Oh, yeah, it's hers. Yeah. Oh. Well, I went into your wife's store today. Yeah. And the wife says, guess what? That guy from the A&R guy from Arista or CBS or whatever the radio, labels were then. Yeah, he came in and He bought, remember that crazy vase we had for 10 grand? Yeah, he bought it. Mm-hmm. They saw right through this. And that's what Hunter did. They don't even care. Now, I want you to listen to this. In the event you're listening right now and you say, you know, but I don't like Trump. I say, okay. I don't like Trump. Okay. I don't like him. Okay. That's up to you. I don't like the way they call him a racist. I don't understand that, but and how he hates women. And they're going to bring that weird E. Jean Carroll case. Oh. Remember that one? How that story is always, look, I don't want to second guess a victim, right? That's not my thing. I don't want to, if women or children or anybody claims to have been a victim, I think we should always give them the benefit of the doubt. But I do think there comes a time when we can look back at kind of what they said. And there was Trump. Trump walks into Bergdorf Goodman, right up the big high-end store. The most well-known, he was the king and the prince of New York City. Everybody knew him. Women threw themselves at him. I mean, So he walks into this store and he takes one look at E.G. and says, I got to have this woman now. What's available? You want to go to my apartment? Trump Tower's right around the corner. Whatever. No. Let's go to this dressing room so everybody can see me go in there. Yeah, let's do that. There we go. That's the ticket. Yeah, okay. All right. Jury listened. They believed it. And because Trump wouldn't keep his mouth shut, and his lawyers at the time, they turn a $5 million whatever to like 80. Okay, fine. But he keeps going. Then Tish James hit him for something, basically charged him with breaking a law, civil in nature, that nobody really understood. Nobody complained. Nobody, not a bank, not a lending institution, nobody. And he said that, well, you know, he overvalued. It doesn't matter. If you go to a bank or you try to get a loan or something and you say, I'm going to pledge this, what do you have? Well, I've got here it is. This is part of from my Trump collection. This is my Trump talisman here. And it's worth $75 million. Okay. It's not really. I just got this at the White House gift shop, which I did, by the way. Now, if I pledge this for $75 million and I go to, I don't know, Jamie Dimon at Chase or whatever it is, or some, they're going to say, we're not going to take your word for it. We're going to do an independent evaluation. Really? No, it's not. It's called an appraisal. Do you ever have a car accident? You ever have a fender bender? You call Geico or Progressive and say, yeah, my car, it's totaled. Yeah, that's it. So can you send me a check? Sure. They send an adjuster out. I mean, this is, but for Trump and his poor, this 78 whatever year old man who's doing hard time in Rikers because he had a company car. I mean, they came. Remember Carter Page? Why Carter Page doesn't own the NSA and the CIA and the FBI? I have no idea. I don't know what that was about. Between that, Judge Mershon, that stupid case with Dusty Saddles or whatever her name is, Stormy Daniels. Even Joe talked about, anyway, I said with a porn star. Your son has sex with prostitutes, and when he's running out of money, he calls the Secret Service downstairs to come up and bring him a credit card. Do you know what you're talking about? Your son, and he's got pictures of him. He's walking around with weapons and harlots and prostitutes whacked out of his mind on whatever he's smoking. Or what parallel universe are you living in? How can you bring this up? It just, they live in a world of impunity. He says, you don't understand. I'm Joe Biden. I can do whatever I want. I can say whatever I want. I can let your sovereignty go down the drain by letting in illegals, not migrants, not happy wanderers. And what was that like? What's that? SCTV? Gil? Was it Gil? What's his name? Anyway. Two things I want to tell you. Number one, as I was saying before in that rather long prolegomenon, which I admit, Donald Trump drives some people crazy. All right. And if you don't want 4 more years of this, Donald Trump is like chemotherapy. You see, chemotherapy is a poison. Chemotherapy, tamoxifen or whatever you take, this will kill you. You don't take this stuff unless you've got a cancer. You don't take chemotherapy unless you have a cancer. And we, ladies and gentlemen, have a cancer. You got that? A cancer. And you can call it liberalism or progressivism or Democrats or whatever you want. I don't know. But we have a cancer. And the only cure for that is Donald John Trump. Hold your nose, vote for him. Do me a favor, shut up and vote for him. We're going to hook you up to this stuff. You're going to get nauseated. You're going to feel like hell, but it's going to save your life. And this is the only man available. Let me just tell you something. And I'm going to really get serious with you. If it wasn't for Trump, I don't know what I would do. Can you think of anybody seriously, any Republican or anybody who can counter this shadow government horror, who is in any way even remotely as equipped as Trump? Can you? Anybody? Who? Matt Gaetz? Remember I told you about him. They're coming after him, and they're going to get him. I told you. Marjorie Taylor Greene, she's great for a soundbite. She can't handle this. Who? Ted Cruz? John Kennedy? He can get up there and talk about all his stories. I had a coon dog. What? I had a coon. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had a coon dog named Jerry. Jerry used to relieve himself on the sofa. What is he talking about? Oh, isn't he homespun? He's out of his mind. Ted Cruz? Oh, good. Josh Hawley? Who? Rand Paul? Maybe. Got a way to go. But Trump? What was the last time you in your lifetime ever said, hey, turn on the TV? Why? Turn on the TV. Listen to me. Trump's got a rally. Hey, Jimmy Carter's at a rally. Bless his heart, but nobody ever said it. Even Reagan. We thought Reagan was good and nothing like Trump. Oh, dear God. Trump comes along and he says, you know what I'm going to do? I think I'm going to go into TV. What? TV? Yeah. And he's number 1 for 16 years or something like that. Then he said, yeah, I think I'm going to run for office. Oh, really? Senate? Nah. Congress? No. Mayor? No. County commission? City council? School board? What? President? Come on. Come on, Donnie. Come on. President, come on. Stop it. Are you kidding me? No, I'm not kidding. It's the most incredible thing I've ever seen in my life. It's the most incredible thing I've ever seen. And he did it and destroyed everybody. They threw Jeb Bush, Prescott Bush's son. This is old money. Prescott Bush, who bankrolled, during that second war of note. Oh, yeah, Brown Brothers Harriman. That was Prescott. Oh, These guys are hardcore. He beat them all, tore them apart. Okay? He did it. And then Hillary, she didn't see what was coming. Now you want me to scare you now? You want me to scare you? Or you want to just remain happy? You want me to scare the hell out of you? Well, I'm going to scare you whether you like it or not. Here's my biggest fear. This is what keeps me up at night. Yeah. Imagine I am the voice of the shadow government. And I say, let me tell you something. Let me see if I can explain this to you. You might have wondered a while back why we were so insistent on having our borders breached. Do you think we care about these people? No. Do you think Mayorkas cares about illegals? And Obama kind of soft pedaled it a little bit. They kind of softened you up a little bit. He called them dreamers. Remember that? They're dreamers. Isn't that sweet? Yeah, they're dreamers. Oh, really? Yeah, dreamers. Dreamers. I didn't know that. What are they dreaming about? Oh, I don't know, destroying sovereignty, things like that. Really? Yeah. Dreamers. And you wonder, why are they here? Well, let me tell you why they're here. And if you say this, we have instructed everybody by virtue of our control of social media through our proxy control. Because you see, in the old days, when Eric Blair, our good friend who used to be called George Orwell, talked about different things, he never understood this one. He always saw the government as being that which encroached upon your free speech. But what we did now was we created this thing that everybody's addicted to, social media. It was created by us through DARPA and In-Q-Tel and all these other investment instruments and houses and institutions. And we created this. And we had a story you can't believe. Oh, about how this guy named Mark Zuckerberg was in his dorm room at Harvard, and he wanted to have this cool way of, you bought that, didn't you? Yeah, you did. That was us. We pick people out and we say, you're going to be the face. Same thing with Bill Gates. Bill Gates. You think Bill Gates is a genius? What, are you kidding me? He came up with that piece of garbage. Why do you think PCs were so bad? Because you know where they got all that money, because they were institutional. They were the only game in town. Macs were considered a bit strange. But one of the things that PCs had by design was a big open back door. No lock, so we could jump in, because we had a device that was on the desk at the time of everybody in every business, in every bank in the world. And we want to be able to go into the bank. So Bill, you and Al and these other guys and Steve, no, not Wozniak, that's Apple. We're going to let you come up with this idea about how you and your another Harvard dropout, how you came up with this computer thing and you're the nerd. And okay, right. But basically, this is ours. And we'll also let you play with Klaus Schwab and others and Soros later on to be like a big shot with our social engineering. But we'll worry about that later. But you're going to be that fiction. And Bezos, you and that weird, how about that wife of his or girlfriend or whatever it is, scariest human being, dear, reminds me of Big Ange, but without the weight. Remember Big Ange? Remember that? Just the scariest. So we're going to get old Bezos, and he's going to come up with this fiction about, and I worked in my garage, and I sold people books. Right. And you turned it into Amazon. Yeah, okay, fine. They'll believe it. So we create these people. Now, here's the deal. Number one, you're going to do what we do, what we tell you to do. We can take you out in a heartbeat, but you're not going to fight, because you're going to have, your wealth is not even going to be even subject to even calculating. It will be the inverse of a floxy-nosny-hilly-pillification. Okay? It'll be the inverse of that. But here's what we also want you to do. We're going to wait till people get really addicted to social media. And then we're going to say to them, we're going to shut you down. But it's not going to be the government. It's going to be you. The thing that they're addicted to, we're going to shut down. You're going to be our proxy. So we will give you a list, and that's what the Twitter files were responsible for. We're going to give you a list of all these people that we want you to shut up. Oh, you want to question vaccine efficacy? Shut them down. Oh, you want to push hydroxychloroquine? Shut them down. Oh, you like ivermectin? Shut them down. Oh, you think that maybe the election was stolen? Shut them down. Oh, you don't think that we should necessarily be throwing money at Ukraine? Shut them down. And they tried to do the latest where they wanted you to shut up, or if you were to say anything that in any way was construed as not going along with the official policy of rubber stamping everything Bibi Netanyahu says, you're going to be called an anti-Semite. And they almost did that by going in and sending in police we've never even seen before to clear out college protests at Columbia while crime in the street. Oh my God. Our handbook should be The Prince by Machiavelli. Oh, Charlie. Not only that, but also, thank you, but Bernays and Gustave Le Bon, crowd theory. Oh, absolutely. So this world today. See, if your grandparents were here, they wouldn't understand how they shut down speech, not directly, but by going into social media. They don't want you questioning things. And every now and then somebody will, don't you love when somebody will say, like, they'll talk about maybe 9/11. Can't even say that. No. You ever see that guy Sagar and Jetty? I like him on Breaking Points with Sagar and Crystal Ball. Goes, hey, I think we should. I read this story about Saudi Arabia. Sagar, you're kidding me, right? Yeah. He was 9 years old, I think, during during that horrible day in September. 23 years ago. Same thing with Candace Owens. Hey, when I was in junior high, I saw this movie called Loose Change. Give it a rest, honey. You don't want to go there. You don't want to go there. But they're like putting their toe in the water. Like, is this okay? Same thing with Tucker. Can I talk about this? Yeah. Give it a shot, Tucker. Okay. And remember why they got rid of him, because they made a deal with the folks who ran this show, because the Dominion lawsuit was just, they didn't put on a witness. They folded on that lawsuit. So I know this is a rather elliptical, discursive, rather desultory explanation, but bear with me. So there's this new world, this new group of people running the show. So here is my big fear. So as somebody from the shadow government, I'm going to say, here's what we're going to do. You think you got rid of Joe? Good. Let's have the election now. Let's have it. Joe would lose, right? How many of you think that if the election were held right now, Joe would lose? How many believe that? Simple question, show of hands. Who believes that the election were held today, right now, Joe Biden versus Donald Trump, that Trump would just, after last night, Trump would just, how many think so? How many think so? Anybody? Tell me you believe that. Tell me you believe that. Tell me that after last night, that the whole thing would change. That right now, that Trump is going to just win by a landslide. Okay? Here's my fear. All of those people that came into your country that you never kept track of, that Mayorkas hid, the Democrats who work for us, the shadow government, we through biometrics, we tag and track every single one of them. We know where everyone is. And they come in and they say, okay, what you're going to do is this. We'll give you whatever you want. We'll throw money at you. That's okay. But we want something in return. Number one, we're going to send you to certain parts of the country to ensure that you help with population amounts and the like, because we want to redefine congressional districts and census is coming out. So we're going to put you. So you may go to Duluth, and you may go to Akron, and you may go to and you're going to do what we say. And if you don't do what we say, and they know, oh, no, no, no. We don't care who you are. Cartel members, come on in. By the way, the cartel is, if that is not immediately declared as an enemy of the United States, and military action, if it doesn't commence immediately under Trump, I will be very surprised. But anyway, so then we're going to have these new people. And let me tell you what's going to be election night. Biden wins. This is my fear now. And so our good friend Dinesh D'Souza and others come forward. No, you're not going to hear anybody on Fox. Fox will never say anything about an election because they are so spooked, so scared. Those people are making millions and millions. There isn't one of these idiots who's not making $1 million. When Judge Jeanine is the legal brain trust, this is what we're talking about. This is the intellectual firepower we got here. When Jesse Waters is the Niels Bohr of the, they're going to do nothing. Hannity's the smartest guy in the world. Hannity's never said anything in his life of any consequence. No hits, no runs, no errors. Anodyne, simple, usual. Reagan, lower taxes, the usual stuff. Nothing exciting. Nothing. They're not going to do. They're not going. It's over with. I'm sorry. They're not going to say anything. So here's what they're going to do. They're going to say every single vote. Go ahead and check. All of them are now, they were provided for and cast by new American citizens who are now new voters. And we made sure that we changed it in every jurisdiction. All these laws you weren't paying attention to, but we call them provisional voting. Oh, you're not going to see anybody at 3 a.m, dumping ballots or throwing things away. No. You're not going to see cardboard, the Philly voting precinct. No. You're going to see people just showing up, counting them. Martinez, Fernandez, Pedrero, blah, 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 blah. Japanese, Venezuelan, Austrian, come on in. I'll vote for Joe. In fact, they'll love Joe Biden. Remember, Joe Biden did this. Here's your goodie bag. Vote Democrat. Absolutely. Because Trump wants to throw you out. Okay, don't worry. And we're going to say, go ahead. This isn't about Dominion, Smartmatic. Count the votes. Count them. We have time. All of these votes are legal, fair and square. You're going to see 1 million votes, 2 million. Remember, you only need 11 states to win the entire election. 11. You could win 11 states by one more vote than the opposition and not get a single vote in 39 of the states of this country. Keep that in mind. Charlie says, could Trump use old posse laws to deputize people for rounding up illegals? Absolutely. I got a better one. Why do we need to ask anybody permission to round up anyone? We can do this. People say, oh, no, you can't. It's a vigilante. I don't know what that word means. But let me go back to what I'm saying. This is the part which is the most important. And by the way, dear friends, I have not asked for this because I don't want to be a bit ham-handed, and I appreciate you being here. But my friends, if you are enjoying yourself, one thing you can do is to like this. We need likes. Likes are the lifeblood of YouTube in particular. It's what motivates. It's what puts us into the fast lane. It's what opens up algorithms and suggested videos and the like. Because what I am doing and what I've been trying to do, I hope successfully, this morning is for the past 1 hour and 15 minutes, uninterrupted, to give you a way of looking at this so that and by the way, we've just started. It's going to take days to sort through this. But my biggest fear is I'm laughing at you and saying, you weren't paying attention. You were busy with rallies. You were busy with making memes and jokes. we were going into individual states and cities and counties and having everything changed. Thank you, Lynn. Thank you, Carolyn EHS. Appreciate it. That's what we were doing. We were changing the rules. And I'm saying it again. Fox News will never mention anything. And remember what they said about Trump as their individual text messages were revealed. They hated Trump, up to and including his girlfriend, Sean Hannity, because Trump was too bold. Tucker didn't like, Tucker told him to shut up and all this stuff. We'll see what happens now. And once Trump wins, everybody's going to, well, I was with Trump the whole time. No, you weren't. Oh, yes, I was. No, you weren't. Watch how popular he becomes. And I'm telling you right now, if through the grace of God or whoever is in charge of this cephalogical spirit, what I want is for the president to say, I'm not going to have an inauguration. I'm going to be sworn in at the White House by the Chief Justice or Justice Alito or whoever can administer the oath. And that's it. I'm not going to go through that business where Hollywood didn't want to show up. Remember that horrible selection? Who was it? Antonio Sabato Jr.? Where was he? He was the only one. Nobody knew what the hell he did, but he came out of nowhere. Who was it? Chachi? I get him and Ralph Macchio confused. Remember Chachi? Chachi was there. One of the two, Sam and Dave, the one who's alive, either Sam or and Dave. I think he was there. Andrea Bocelli bounced. They would blackball everybody. Remember that one? Oh, you were through. Remember all those folks who were in favor of Trump? And do you know how many people love him? Do you have any idea? No, you don't. Hollywood, I know this as a fact. They love him. You know who else loves him? Black folks. Black folks, conservative. Black folks love him. He's gangsta. That's the way it's pronounced. These are folks who do not particularly care for this lefty lunacy, especially when it comes to trans or whatever this stuff is. That's a big deal. Remember when Prop 8 or whatever it was in California that failed terribly? Remember when they were saying, wait a minute, same-sex marriage, wait. And the Democrats said, well, don't you understand? Remember when there were anti-miscegenation laws? And you were prevented yourself from intermarrying or marrying? And black folks said, wait a minute. Are you comparing being black with being gay? They were furious. Democrats never even, they didn't know. Let me ask you a question. Why do you think there are so many people, this disproportionate proportion of people and stars in Hollywood who have transgendered kids? Why do you think that is? Think about that. How many transgender do you know? None. We've been here forever. Mrs. Ellen and I have been in New York forever. She's been in show business forever. Do you know how many actual, true? I don't mean somebody who dresses perhaps interestingly, but I mean somebody who says, no, I'm going to take this quote, not cisgender, but this default gender, and I'm going to switch chemically, biologically, surgically, one. We know one. And what she went through is hell. So where is this cacophony? Not of people who think, well, today I'm a jellyfish. I'm a marsupial. I'm an ashtray. Okay, that's fine. You can do that all you want. And I'm not talking about some TikTok freak who just loves to talk to themselves. Remember when they would sit in the front seat of a car and scream and yell? Remember the famous, Jessica Starr? No! Remember her? Her name was Jessica Starr, which is the name of that tragic anchor. But Jessica Starr started that. She started the Karens. Remember the Karen? She started that. You have been in a shell-shocked world since 2020. Your world, you have been what you've been through. And there are people who want Trump desperately. And the Hollywood folks, no. Let me tell you something. You're about to see something very interesting. I have always said, here's to you folks. Lionel merch, by the way. You have always, you can also raise koi in this thing. I've always thought that the pendulum is going to swing back like a wrecking ball. It's going to come back with a ferocity, the likes of which you've never seen before. I mean, it's not going to go, oh, we're going to shift. Oh, no. And there are people who are going to be finding out that this lifestyle, this mental, spiritual, and political lifestyle that they've inhabited is now outdated. Much like when the day happens, listen to me. Listen to me. Okay? There is going to come a day when people are going to say tattoos are stupid. They're ugly. They're grotesque. They're pedestrian. They don't mean anything anymore. And we don't like them. Listen to what I'm telling you. But unlike other things, a stud, a hair color, an earring or whatever it is, you can't get rid of this, no matter how hard you try. That was the greatest experiment ever in crowd theory, fads, mind control, giving yourself up to being cool. To being cool. To destroy your dermal real estate forever in these horrible sleeves that when you get older and your collagen dissipates and you get bingo wings and your triceps sag and flap in the wind and you're sitting there in your moo-moo in the home and your grandson says, Grandma, what are those skulls and things up your neck? What does born to lose mean? What is that teardrop? Well, that's a long story. Grandma, did you lose a bet? No, it was a time when it was very popular then. Everybody, especially people in the restaurant business, and you had to do that. Yeah, but did you ever think about getting old? No, we never did, because we always thought our skin would look great. And now we look like we're bruised, like we just dropped off of a building. This looks like contusions and hematomas. That was the greatest experiment I've ever seen in my life. And believe me when I tell you, the same folks who brought you masks and contact tracing and 6 feet rules. Remember during COVID when they would have this rule, these stickers? Remember the company that made these little adhesive stickers for stores? Keep 6 feet. Remember how we did that? We were like barking seals. We just, okay. Remember walking in a store and they had a direction where we walk this way, but don't cross. Why? Because COVID will jump over. Do you still see people who wear masks? When you see someone wearing a mask today, do you want to stop them and say, do you not listen to what Fauci said? They've admitted this. Wearing a mask to a virus is like a chain link fence to a mosquito. Do you not pay attention? I don't care. I got used to it. Remember people who would wear a mask in a car? This is where we've been. This is the insanity. Do you remember at 7 p.m. opening the windows? And here in New York, it was amazing. I mean, I was amazed. People playing trumpets and screaming, yay! Thank you, first responders. Remember Black Lives Matter? Remember George Floyd? Remember this? Remember cardboard sales? Remember, I don't know about you, but on the west side of Manhattan, that's another thing too. For some reason, we have people in our country who cannot pronounce the letter T all of a sudden. Martin, Manhattan. Where did this come from? Where did this come? Manhattan. Say it. Little Italy, Martin, Abraham Martin and John. Anyway, on the west side of Manhattan, there are these car dealerships. And all of a sudden, we would notice that the floor models, that the floor, the cars that were on display were removed and plywood went up. I'm thinking, how do they know this? Remember Antifa? We went through that. Here in New York, there were pallets of bricks dropped off miraculously in the middle of the night. And nobody seemed to say, hey, why are they dropping pallets of bricks off in the middle of the night? It was so obvious. We've been through 4 years of indescribable crime. CVS, Sephora, Walgreens, name it. Hordes and passels of new criminals coming in with big garbage bags, cleaning off shelves. Do you still, in your town, do you have a store where you have to ask and ring a buzzer? Yes, the rectal itch cream, aisle 3, they're not going that, suppositories, those were always left alone. But if you want face wash, and they have this CVS guy who comes up with the key, and nobody did anything. We have a mayor in New York, a jadrul, a chooch, an idiot by the name of Eric Adams, who has no idea of what he's doing. Owned by the Wall Street elites. Owned. Who never did anything. No bail, no cash bail, restorative justice, George Soros. Remember, you don't even remember the hell you've been through. You don't even remember. You have been so waylaid, so crushed by this. And what last night represents, I hope, is a transition where we never go back to that again. We cannot let this happen again. You don't know what you've been through. How many of you, dear folks, have lost friends who you never got back because you were somehow allied and aligned with and to Trump? How many? How many Christmases and Thanksgivings and jobs? Remember when they shut down churches and weddings? You couldn't see old people. Do you remember? And people like Fredo, actually not Fredo Cuomo, that fraud, but his brother Salazzo, Andrew Cuomo. You have been through absolute, you have PTSD. You don't even remember this. You have been so shell-shocked, so conditioned. I never forgot what happened to me. I am more resolute now than I ever was. Big Al says, great job. You are about as sick of all of this BS as I am. Thanks for your service. I have started my channel because of you, sir. Excellent, Big Al. Thank you, sir. And it is incumbent upon you to make sure you, all of you, are signed up on X, or I still call it Twitter. I'm at Lionel Media. Let me also tell you something while we're at it. I want you to do me a big, big, big favor. Do yourself a favor. My beloved wife has been the indefatigable, I still say the lone voice in one of the most incredibly horrid subjects that people do not even want to discuss. And that is what is happening to our children and what they have been subject to. I'm putting up a link right now, and I want you to write this down. Make a note of this. First and foremost, it's Lynn's Warriors, and it has been dedicated to the subject matter, the elimination of child predation, and human trafficking. Before it was cool. Before people jumped in. And all of these people came in and they said, whoa, this is great. And then these new folks came in. And all of a sudden, overnight, everybody kept talking about these certain people whose name started either with the prefix of PEDO or PAEDO, depending upon your order. I don't want to say this because of the sensitivities of certain algorithms. But all of a sudden, it was like, that's the word. No, that's not the word. There is no law against, and there never should be, what you find in your mind sexually attractive. You can believe in, as we've said, you can have a fetish about cannibalism for all we care. That's not the idiot. Or that's not the point. But these idiots took this term and destroyed it. And what is happening if you have children, grandchildren, kids that you watch after? They're coming for them through their phones, through their devices. There was a war on for our children. And Donald Trump has done more than anybody. Anybody. There was a time at the White House. It was the most important thing. Here's this link again. Please, this is Mrs. L. Follow her on YouTube at Lynn's Warriors and on X or Twitter at Lynn's Warriors. I'm telling you, there's a newsletter that what parents need to do. Let me tell you something. There was an event at the White House which she attended with people all over the country. And you know what he did? Do you know what he cared about that nobody else did? Missing and murdered indigenous Americans, specifically women, of course, usually women and children, but the number of women, indigenous, native born, Indian, whatever you want to call them, tribal, who are missing, just gone. It's disproportionate. Donald Trump did this. And recently, I was at an event, and I'm going to say it, of alleged, everybody's from tribes. I don't know enough about the tribes. So if you tell me you're from a tribe, I remember the Fakawis and all that. Okay, fine. So I take your word for it. Okay. Who am I to say this? And we were at an event. And Mrs. L, my brave wife, said, let me say something. And you cannot believe this. We're in this room and we're there because it's a very important cause. Because anytime anybody is subject to predation, we're there, she's there. Let me give you one more time. And I want her YouTube, her numbers. I'm telling you something. She is the real deal. So let me tell you what happened. So she sits there and she says, by the way, let me tell you who was instrumental in this, Donald Trump. And they went crazy. And one somebody from some tribe, I guess, said, well, didn't he close down? We said, did you hear what I just said? He's at the White House with Bill Barr. The place was packed. And the hatred for Donald Trump, even when he does something to help your cause, they hate him. He gets into their bloodstream. Or I don't know what it is. I've never seen it. I am more convinced right now. Let me tell you something. My friends, the world wants him like you can't believe. This little thing right here. When we were kids, I got this at a dollar store. Now a Dollar Tree. Now it's $1 and what is it, $1.50 or something? I don't know. Anyway, I got this. I love this. And I look at this. And here we are. This is our side. Pretty, okay. And this is the rest of the world. Whoa! Whoa! And we used to have in our schools a globe, and we knew about where things were. And I want you to understand something. The world will never be the same now. I have been doing this stuff, and I've never seen anything like now. I started first in talk radio in 1988. And I've been through this, worked with Rush Limbaugh, went through all iterations of this when the internet started, and AM and FM, and I have never seen anything like this. I have been, by virtue of my generation, have seen activism, and everything was groovy and everything was okay for a while. And what the internet has unleashed is something which I believe you and I share. Let me tell you who we are. We believe in the Constitution. And by the way, if you're not in this country, I understand, but you share the. We believe in fundamentals, and there's room for variation. There's a word abecedarian, like ABC, elemental, fundamental, the core belief systems. We believe in certain things. And for years, I used to always kind of laugh at this. I did. Family, prayer, schools. Okay. Because I laugh because we always had them. Spirituality and the First Amendment are under attack. They hate your faith. Now listen to me. I am irreligious, but I also don't speak French and I don't like golf, but I'm not going to do anything to have those particular endeavors subjugated or supplanted. But I believe that there is a benefit the society has when it believes in something other than its own material focus and obsession. You got that? Mental health is through the roof. Kids today are just so up. Can't believe. One more time. Lynn's Warriors. Let me tell you something very quickly. Got a friend of mine, dear friend of the family. Okay. She's a 4th grade teacher. When we were a kid, we used to do this thing. Did you ever play catch with your kids? No. Hey, Grandpa, ever play catch with your kid? No. Frisbee? No. Does your kid climb a tree? No. Does your kid ever meet? No. Does your kid have a bike? No. Nothing. Skate? No. Member of a team? Glee club? After school? No, because school is going to be all remotely. School's done. They're going to make it permanently remote. But when you were a kid, let me tell you what you did. You took this ball, okay? And first of all, when you were a kid, you would roll it. And in your brain, you are making connections you can't even imagine. Spherical. Got it. Shape. Parietal. Placement. Presence. Where I am. And of course, there's other particular aspects, of course, cognition and executive centers and all this kind of stuff. But there was this idea of me coordinating this effort throw. Got it. I'm not going to throw it as hard as I can. Oh, I see. So I'm judging weight with the amount. You don't even know what you're doing. There was a time when we were a kid and we got into a box. We played fort. We played hide and seek. Stuff that you thought was stupid, but it was Piaget, it was object permanence. And our brains were just working and doing these things through these very simple tasks. Okay. So anyway, so here's a ball. And what do we do? And then we learn things like this. How to write. Remember the Palmer? I knew somebody in Catholic school who was held back because he couldn't write. Did you ever see this? Did you ever see people write today? Okay. So because of this, and then we have this device. The device comes along. Where is the device? Oh, the device is somewhere. In any event, we have this device, and here it is. Let's imagine this is a phone. And kids are like this, with saliva dripping and their eyes fixated, and the information is jumping at them. Listen to what I'm saying. From a cognitive neurological point of view, the information is jumping at you. You don't learn tracking, and you don't learn how to read, and you can't write because you've never. By the way, how many friends watching right now? Anybody from the UK in particular? UK or Europe, but in the UK, if we have any UK friends, let me show you something. I can spot the following. This is a pet peeve of mine that has absolutely nothing to do with anything, but it drives me crazy. When you give an American, watch him eat. Here's a knife, and watch how they hold their fork. They do this. They're like Pablo Casals they do this. This is my favorite. With the finger at the top, they Friar Tuck. They look like, psycho. They don't know how to eat. They just, Gordon Ramsay is a intellectual barbarian, but holds his knife and fork. We are so barbaric. We are so barbaric. We walk around. How many of you now see people walking around in pajamas and slides and scuffies and Uggs and this? We're turning into fat slobs. And our kids can't read. And they're sitting home and they are subject to predation and sextortion. And all this stuff is happening on phones. You don't even matter. And Donald Trump was doing so much about this. And Biden, by virtue of his being owned by big tech, because they own him and they own everything on his son's laptop. They own him. And all the deals that China made with him, they're blackmailing him. This guy has said in return for this, I'm going to let your kids, when we were a kid, remember Stranger Danger? The white van, the guy behind the bus stop with the trench coat? That's not what we're worried about. Remember flashers? Everybody's flashing today. Our kids live in a world that is so depraved, so filled with the most fetid and putrescent, immoral, vile, the language, this deranged behavior. My God. Emio Dale says, love you, Lionel. Grab show. Thanks for being here every day. Great show. Oh, thank you. I'm sorry. I thought it said GRB. Thank you. I appreciate that. Seriously. This is transcendent. I'm telling you. I am telling you. And there are people like me and people like you, and there are others out there who they're trying to crush, and we're not going to have it. We're not going to take it. I think the great Twisted Sister said it best. All right? Okay. So first, my friends, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with us. An hour and 41 minutes. It is my pleasure. I am elated. I'm going to stop now because you've got other things to do. And I don't want to take up any more of your time. You have honored me with your presence. Please, please, on YouTube, subscribe to Lionel Nation. Now, for reasons I don't know, sometimes people get unsubscribed. That happens. Lionel Nation. The second thing I ask you is my beloved wife, who works indefatigably, like you, devoted 24/7 to stopping child predation and human trafficking. She's at Lynn's Warriors. I'm gonna give you this right now, one more time. Just link on this. It'll take you right to her sign-up sheet. There are so many people out there doing incredible jobs, incredible work. I want to go back to the way some things were. I don't want to get rid of the internet.
By the way, I have to say something.
Yes.
I have people reaching out to me. Biden said he's supported by Border Patrol. They're up in arms. They do not support Biden.
Mrs. L says that there are people reaching out to her. Biden says he is supported by Border Patrol. He is not. He is not. It is an outright lie. Watch the interviews. Watch the interviews on Lynn's Warriors. And by the by, if you have kids with their phones, there are things or efforts you can take to make your phone predator proof. You own that phone. It's your phone. This is your child. They're after your children. I'm not exaggerating. This is not your friend. You're not their pal. You're their parent. And there's this movement right now to destroy parental primacy and parental autonomy. There are things right now that you're going to see people say things. For the longest time, I was a prosecutor, defense lawyer, and I would say, we have to slow down. The NDAA, this National Defense Authorization Act, the way they would privatize the police scared the hell out of me. I thought, this is the end of posse comitatus. Robocops. I want robocops now. Big Al says, we are with you, brother. Thanks for your service. Thank you, Big Al. Thank you so much for that. Let me tell you what I believe in. Listen to me very carefully. Vigilantism, citizen patrols, the militia. The militia. What do you think the militia is? Read Tench Cox. TenchCoxc. Whenever I'm in Philly and I get to always pay homage to his grave. He was the father he spoke about the militia. Let me tell you a story. A friend of mine lived in China. And say what you want about China. He said, I never had a problem there. And so he had a friend of his. Well, two things. One, he walked down the street and they have these signs. And the signs would be on telephone poles or whatever the equivalent was. And it was a sign that said, hello, my name is Sergeant or Lieutenant Lee or whatever the name was. I'm with this particular police department. This is my phone number. This is my mobile phone. If you have a problem, call me. If anybody bothers you, call me. I am in charge of this sector. It is my job to know what I can do and we can do for you. Anybody bothers you, any crime, any activity, let me know. Yeah, you might say, well, they're draconian. Okay, say what you want. There's no crime. Now listen to this. So my friend was also, by the way, this is a real right-winger, to use the word military, really, and he normally isn't somebody you would think would be a sinophile. So this guy comes up and says, listen, let me ask you a question. If something ever happened to your kid, let's say your daughter was tragically removed and had terrible things. I can't use these words, these R words, but you know what I'm saying. Isn't it sad that anyway, what would happen to that person? He said, honestly, what would happen? He said, well, to be truthful, he said, they may get life or probably not. He said, you know what would happen here? He said, what do you think? And they have this idea where they say, if one of you is hurt, is injured, all of us. We just don't allow that. We don't allow that. I'm getting so sick and tired of me looking the other way when there are these animals, these hominids, these people who are raised in environments and in cultures where victimization and predation is what they do. I've had enough of that. We have a Second Amendment that they want to take from us. There is absolutely nothing to prevent you being able to protect, to monitor, to surveil, to patrol your neighborhood, your city, your state. I'm not going to have to ask the police for permission. I'd have to ask you, excuse me. I grant you, the government, limited abilities, limited things to pick up the trash, maybe have the traffic lights, public school here and there, and, pick up the trash, do some stuff. A little bit of police work. But there are some places where the bad guys fear the fellow citizens more than they do the police. Let me say that again. I want the bad guys to fear us. I want them to say, whatever you do, don't move to wherever if you plan on breaking in and that sort of thing. Oh, no, no, no. They want to destroy your ability to protect yourself. The Second Amendment is not about duck hunting, plinking cans. And it has nothing to do also with the assault weapons. Do you know what you call a gun that's not assaultive? A stick. Enough with the preaching. If you like what you see, and I know you do, subscribe here, Lionel Nation. One more time, and I'm going to leave you alone. This is Mrs. L. Please subscribe to her YouTube channel. And especially parents, grandparents, she has stuff that will blow your mind. And you'll be asking the question, why isn't anybody talking to us about this? Because they don't want to arm you with the truth. Your kids are what they want. We're done. We're finished. We're on the back nine. Nobody's going to, what good are we? They want to destroy the minds and the ambition and the sense of intimacy and marriage and dating and sexuality. They want everything. They want to confuse your kids. They want to be able to tell a little kid who's at 8 years old that they can make decisions about gender when they don't even know their favorite color. No, we've had enough of that. All right, dear friends, have a great and a glorious day. And let me also say to you fine people, to Big Al, to MEODEI, Mayo Dei, Dei is of God in Latin. Extra Mile. Carolyn, thank you. Charlie Calais. JTE. Howie Brown. Tim P. Raul Rodriguez. Sparky, our dear friend. James Rockford from the Rockford Files. Howie Brown, you've got a lovely daughter. Soul 76 Can. And Bridget Burke. Thank you so much for your being here. See you tonight at 7 p.m. Same bad time. Well, not same bad time. What am I saying? Same bad state. You know what I'm talking about. And by the way, I've been speaking uninterrupted to you for an hour and 51 minutes. Okay? Take that, Jake Tapper. Have a good day, my friends. And don't forget, the monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue ya.